I call Pini Hinari 5-minute call.
Mr. Speaker, one of the favourite pastimes of our beautiful country is sitting around on the cold winter's evening by the fire playing Monopoly. And by the sounds of these kinds of policies and these kinds of bills that the national government are currently putting through, it's clear that they're playing the game of Monopoly with the Kiwi dream. What they are doing is basically saying to all Kiwis who aspire towards the Kiwi dream, there is no passing go. Can I pick up on one of the points made by the member across the House, Mr. Jamie Lee Ross, about having no ideas? Well, Mr. Speaker, that's quite the contrary. We do have some brilliant ideas, and what we're growing tired of is sharing those ideas only for this government to take them and turn Coke into Diet Coke, or the Kiwi dream into a nightmare. So the point of this, Mr. Speaker, is actually what is the full plan by this government to ensure that Kiwis can have the affordable home and live the Kiwi dream. Now, I mentioned in my maiden speech in this House, Mr. Speaker, that I was afraid that the backyards of our homes in Tāmaki Makaurau will be turned into the playgrounds of land speculators and foreign investors. Well, this particular bill here, Mr. Speaker, it's a Clayton's attempt at trying to curb and at least trying to curb that offshore investment into properties in New Zealand here, which, as all of the colleagues on this side of the House have already mentioned, have driven up the house prices in Tāmaki Makaurau. Now, Tāmaki Makaurau, Mr. Speaker, you'll be well aware, is obviously a big city and it does need to grow, but I do want to also pick up the point of the member, Mr. Russell Norman, who talked about the urban sprawl, and I'm reminded of a group at the moment who go by the acronym SOUL, Saving Our Urban Landscapes, who, because of this haphazard approach to housing development by this government, are currently fighting a battle in Auckland, Tāmaki Makaurau, near the airport in fact, and in the hope of trying to save their community, a community that for a long time now has been forgotten by this government, and now they're looking to just run the community almost out of their own homes and build a whole heap of new homes with no clear plan to allow our people, Kiwis, and also the people of the community of Ihu Mātao into those homes. These, of course, are a concern to me, Mr. Speaker. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the IRD position on this particular bill, Mr. Speaker. And my colleague, the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove, spoke a little bit earlier about it and about IRD's advice on this particular bill. Now, one of the problems, and we've noticed it with a series of fumbled passes by the Inland Revenue Department, but they rightly point out that their ability to be able to enforce or to police what this bill is intending to do around a register, because let's face it, that's what it is, a register, of offshore investors or land buyers, property buyers into this country. While they mentioned it would be relatively easy to be able to police it here in New Zealand, one of the fears is that, and it's a reality, that their ability to enforce this law offshore with those people who this particular bill is intended for is not only an uphill battle, but almost a near impossibility. Now, it's these kinds of things that raise concerns to this side of the House. It also adds to the conversation that this is a poorly consulted matter by this government. We've already heard it on that side of the House, that they hope that as this bill progresses, they'll get an opportunity to hear more on it. Well, my thinking is, why don't you do the homework properly first to ensure that you don't waste the precious time of this House. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, we will be voting for this particular bill now, encouraging it through to the Select Committee stages, and I want to encourage one and all to make sure that they have their voice heard on this particular bill, and they tell this government that they can no longer play monopoly with the dreams of our people here in New Zealand of owning a home, and particularly our young people, and for the future of this country. Kia ora, Mr. Speaker.
5 minutes.